Hello children, in this video we are going to study the chapter the flower. Okay, so basically we should know what is a flower first. See, we already know that reproduction is very important process that takes place in the living organisms because it helps to continue a particular species. Okay, that is the reason reproduction is very important. And when we talk about the flowering plants, reproduction takes place with the help of the flower. So let us see what is a flower. Flower is a special shoot in which the leaves are modified into floral structures. Okay, so here it is a special shoot in which the leaves are converted into floral structures like the petals. Okay, basically the petals are the modified leaves that are seen in the flower, right? So flower is a special shoot in which the leaves are modified into floral structures. When we talk about a typical flower, we find that the flower consists of the parts like stalk, thalamus, calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, out of which the last four, calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium, are important, very important part you can say of the flower. Okay, so let us study the structure of a typical flower. So this is the stalk of the flower, or it is also called as the pedicel. With the help of the stalk or the pedicel, the flower remains attached to the plant. Then at the top of the pedicel you can see this swollen structure which is called as the thalamus or the receptacle. On this thalamus, the four important whorls of the flower are arranged. That is the calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium are arranged on this thalamus, and that is the reason it is called as the receptacle. See, sometimes what happens, the flower will not be consisting of the stalk. In that case, the flower is called as the sessile flower. Let us discuss about the four whorls of the flower in detail now. The first whorl of the flower, it is also called as the outermost whorl of the flower, is the calyx. Each member of the calyx is called as sepal. Okay, when we talk about the sepals, they are generally green in color and generally 5 sepals are present in the flower, but then the number may be different. The sepals may be free from each other or they may be fused. Okay, so here in this diagram you can see the sepals are free from each other, and such a condition is called as polysepalous condition. When the sepals are fused together to form a cup shaped structure, then it is called as gamosepalous condition. Okay, so if the sepals are free, it is polysepalous. If the sepals are fused, it is gamosepalous, right? And as I told you, the sepals are generally green in color. Okay, but sometimes you will find that the sepals are of some different color also, like red, yellow, etc. Okay, in that case it will be called as petaloid sepalous because it looks like petals, right? Yes. Next thing is, now what is the function of the calyx? Okay, the function of the calyx is to protect the flower in the bud condition. And secondary function, since the calyx is green in color, it may carry out the process of photosynthesis also, right? Then we are having the second whorl of the flower, and that is called as the corolla. Okay, and each member of the corolla is called as the petal, right? Now petals are generally bright in color. Okay, they may be present in a single row, single whorl, or they may be present in more than one whorl. Like in case of the rose, there are many whorls of petals present, right? Yes, talking about the petals more, again, like the sepals, the petals may be free from each other. In that condition, it will be called as polypetalous condition. Sometimes the petals are fused together, then it is called as gamopetalous condition. Talking about the number of the petals, okay, it may be different in different flowers. Understanding? Now, what is the function of the petals? Since the petals are brightly colored, their main function will be to attract the insects for the process of pollination. And secondary function is it protects the inner walls of the flower, that is the androecium and gynoecium in the bud condition. Understanding? So that is regarding the petals or the corolla. Next one is the androecium, which is called as the male reproductive part of the flower. Each member of the androecium is called as stamen, right? Number of stamen depends upon the flower. In some flowers it may be less, and in some flowers it may be large in number. Okay, so let us study about the stamen over here. As you can see, the stamen is having two parts, a slender thin part called as the filament, and the top you can see there is the anther present. Okay, the anther you can see it is consisting of two lobes, right? Now this is the internal structure of the anther. When you cut the anther, it looks like this, right? You can see that within the anther there are pollen sac present. These round structures that you can see, they are the pollen sac, and within the pollen sac you will be finding the pollen grains to be present. Okay, pollen grains contain the male gamete. Remember, pollen grains contain the male gamete. Okay, here you can see certain terms related to the androecium. Okay, monadelphous, diadelphous, polyadelphous. Monadelphous is a condition in which there are many stamens present and all are united together to form one single group. Okay, all the stamens will be united together to form one single group. The filaments are united together, right? But the anthers are separate, right? Yes. Second is the diadelphous condition, wherein you will be finding that two groups of stamens are present. Okay, for example, in case of the pea plant, you find that there are 9 stamens joined together and one remains away. Okay, as I have shown over here, right? So here 9 stamens will be joined together to form one group and one stamen is separate. So it is forming two groups, right? And it is condition is called as diadelphous condition. Third one is the polyadelphous condition, wherein you are having many stamens present and those stamens will be forming separate groups. So there are many groups present, and that is the reason it is called as polyadelphous condition. As I have shown over here, 3 groups of the stamens. Okay, and this condition will be called as the polyadelphous condition. Talking about the fourth whorl of the flower, it is the gynoecium. So here you can see this gynoecium. Each member of the gynoecium is called as the pistil. Okay, let us discuss about the pistil in detail. So here we are having the diagram of the pistil. As you can see in the diagram, there are 3 important parts in the pistil: the stigma, the style, and the ovary. Within the ovary you will be finding the ovules to be present, and within these ovules the female gamete is observed. Okay, it is present inside the ovules. The female gamete is present inside the ovules. Okay, the pollen grain, when it comes out of the anther, it will come and land on the stigma. Okay, the pollen grain will land on the stigma. So stigma is acting as a landing place for the pollen grain, right? Yes. So the ovules are present inside the ovary, and the ovules are attached to the wall of the ovary with the help of a tissue called as placenta. So what is placenta? The tissue which attaches the ovules to the wall of the ovary is called as the placenta, right? Now let us discuss about certain terms that are related to the flower. Complete flower, where all the 4 whorls, androecium, gynoecium, calyx and corolla are present. Such a flower will be called as complete flower. Incomplete flower, wherein one or more whorls of the flower are absent, then it is called as incomplete flower. Okay, complete flower is also referred to as perfect flower, and incomplete flower is referred to as imperfect flower. The second one is the essential whorl and non-essential whorl. Essential whorls are the whorls which are directly concerned with the process of reproduction. Okay, androecium and gynoecium are the examples of the essential whorls of the flower. When we talk about the non-essential whorls, they are helping parts of the flower. They are not directly involved in the process of reproduction, like the calyx and the corolla. Okay, they are the non-essential whorls of the flower, right? They help in the process of reproduction to take place, but they are not directly involved in the reproduction. For example, you consider the petals. They attract the insects for the process of pollination, and pollination is a step of reproduction, right? So they help in the process of reproduction, but they do not take part directly in the process of reproduction. So such is, are called as non-essential whorls of the flower. Then we come to the perianth. Okay, perianth, when the petals and sepals are undifferentiated. Okay, in place of petals and sepals there is one single whorl present, then it will be called as the perianth, right? Yes, the perianth, if it is green in color, then it is called as sepaloid perianth, and if the perianth is of some different color, then it is called as the petaloid perianth, right? So if it looks like petals, okay, then it will be called as the petaloid perianth, right? Then we are having the bracts. Bracts are the leaf-like structures which are present at the base of the flower. Okay, at the base of the flower, near the stalk of the flower, the bracts will be present. Bracts may be green in color, or sometimes it may be some different color, right? In certain flowers you will be finding that the bracts are large, showy, and the flower is very small in size, right? So the bracts may be called as petaloid bracts. If the bract is large and showy, it will be called as petaloid bract. Otherwise, generally the bract is leaf-like structure at the base of the flower. Then some flowers are having the nectaries. Okay, nectaries are the structure which produce the sweet fragrant liquid called as the nectar. Generally, these nectaries are present at the base of the pistil or at the base of the petal. Pistil means the female reproductive organ. Okay, yes, or they may be present at the base of the petals also, right? Two more terms to be discussed over here regarding the flowers. Okay, the first is the sexuality in the flowers and in the plants. Okay, see, basically the flowers are of three different types: bisexual or hermaphrodite flower, unisexual flower, and neuter flower. When we talk about bisexual flower, both the stamen and the pistil, that is the male and the female reproductive organs, are present. An example is hibiscus. Unisexual flower, you will be having only one particular sex organ present in the flower. Okay, so the flower may be male flower which contains the stamens, or the flower may be female flower which contains the pistil. Okay, you can take the example as the papaya. So if the stamens are present, then that flower will be called as staminate flower. If the pistil is present, the flower is called as the pistillate flower. Talking about the neuter flower, okay, the example is sunflower, ray florid, right? In case of neuter flower, you will be finding that the stamen and pistil both are absent. Okay, understanding? Right. So that is regarding the neuter flower, right? Yes. Then talk about the plants, right? There are two types of plants observed. Okay, monoecious plants and dioecious plants. When both the male and the female flowers are present on the same plant, then it is called as monoecious plant. Okay, if the male and female flowers are present on two different plants, then it is called as dioecious plant. Okay, here we are talking about the unisexual type of flowers. Okay, such plants are divided into two types, monoecious and dioecious. Understanding? Then we are having the term inflorescence. The mode of arrangement of flowers on the axis of the plant is called as the inflorescence. Okay, how the flower is arranged on the axis of the plant, that is called as inflorescence. We are having different types of inflorescence seen in the different types of plants. Okay, as it is shown in your book also, we are having different types of inflorescence. I'll just show you the diagram over here. Okay, so here you can see two different types of inflorescence available, right? Yes, so it is the arrangement of the flower on the plant is called as inflorescence. Then we are having placentation. It is the manner in which the ovule is arranged on the wall of the ovary, right? How the ovule is arranged inside the ovary, that is called as placentation, right? So with this we finish with the chapter. Okay, children.